Marriage is really like this, a wild, messy, beautiful ride that starts with a spark, often a literal disaster, and evolves into something deeper, louder, and more rewarding than any rom-com could capture. It's not endless butterflies or constant perfection, it's choosing each other through spills, fights, sleepless nights, and everything in between, until the good moments stack higher than the hard ones. It begins with a meet-cute disaster, like the afternoon he turned a simple coffee run into a full-on latte explosion across my white blouse. Napkins flying, face red with panic, him dabbing at my shirt before realizing what he was doing and freezing in horror. I laughed so hard I snorted. That clumsy chaos? It felt like home from minute one. No fairy tale entrance, just two people who immediately clicked amid the mess. Fast forward through dating fumbles, a wedding that nearly got derailed by a goat threat and forgotten keys, honeymoon slips and breakfast tray crashes, love grew in the laughter between mishaps. Then came the real tests, pregnancy's brutal first trimester, the second's fleeting relief, the third swelling, back pain, high blood pressure, and pre-eclampsia terror. Labor? He ran to the truck with the bag, forgot me, came back, forgot the keys. Classic him. But he held my hand through every push, tears in his eyes, whispering I was incredible. Postpartum was raw, colic screams at 3 a.m., cranky zombie parents arguing over whose turn it was to shower, spit up everywhere, feeling like failures one minute and a teen the next. We sat on the floor crying together more than once, but we'd hug it out, eat melted ice cream, and keep going. Now, 2 kids later, Fandy and Sipho, the chaos has multiplied. Laundry mountains, sticky floors, tantrums, school runs, forgotten pickups, fights over screen time or the leaky tap. Voices rise quicker after a decade, doors slam harder. We've both stared at the ceiling wondering if we could keep doing this, if love had worn too thin under the weight of everyday survival. But we calm down. We talk. We forgive fast. We touch often. The good still outweighs the bad, stolen kisses in the laundry room, midnight whispers when the house quiets, watching them sleep curled together, his hand on my hip as we laugh about old disasters. Anniversaries sneak by with pizza on the couch, but we make them up, because after 10+ years, we've built something real. Marriage isn't a constant high. It's deciding, again and again, that this flawed, funny, fierce person, and the life you've made, is worth fighting for. The fumbles don't stop, they just become stories we tell with grins. The love doesn't fade, it deepens, gets tougher, gets kinder. From that coffee-soaked Tuesday to 2 kids and endless noise later, it's still us, choosing each other, mess and all. That's what marriage is really like. Some love stories begin with fireworks. Ours began with a medium oat milk latte exploding across my white blouse like a caffeinated crime scene. It was a Tuesday afternoon in that little corner cafe on 7th Street, the one with the mismatched chairs and the barista who always drew hearts in the foam. I was there to hide from a deadline, laptop open, headphones in, pretending the world didn't exist. He walked in like he owned the place. Tall, slightly rumpled button down, hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it 50 times, and a smile that should have come with a warning label. He ordered. I didn't look up. Then, because the universe has a sense of humor, he turned too fast, tray in hand, and collided with the edge of my table. Time slowed. The cup tilted. Hot coffee launched in a perfect arc direct hit. My blouse was instantly tie-dyed brown. My notes? Soaked. My dignity? Somewhere under the table with the spilled sugar packets. I yelped. He gasped like he'd been shot. Oh no, oh God, no, no, no. He dropped to his knees, grabbing napkins like they were life rafts. I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot. Here, let me. He dabbed at my shirt, then realized what he was doing and froze. His face went from panic to mortified scarlet in a split second. I wasn't trying to, oh hell, this is worse. I looked down at him, kneeling, napkins clutched like guilty evidence, eyes wide with genuine horror, and something in me cracked open. Not anger. Laughter. The kind that bubbles up, unstoppable. I started laughing. Hard. The snorting, shoulders shaking, tears in your eyes kind of laughing. He stared up at me like I'd lost my mind. You're laughing? I think I'm in shock, I managed between gasps. Or maybe I just met the clumsiest person alive and it's hilarious. He exhaled, a shaky laugh escaping. I'm usually smoother than this. Swear. Liar, I teased, still giggling. You have professional disaster written all over you. He winced, but his mouth twitched into a grin. Guilty. Name's Gideon. Professional coffee assassin. Joanne, I said, finally catching my breath. Professional victim of said assassin. He stood slowly, offering a fresh stack of napkins like a peace treaty. Can I buy you a new coffee? New shirt? New life? Whatever it takes to erase the memory of me ruining yours. I tilted my head, looking him over. The way he was still half-crouched, ready to bolt or fix anything, the earnest panic in his eyes mixed with that stupid, hopeful smile, it hit me like the coffee never could. You know what? I said. Keep the coffee. But sit. You owe me at least 10 minutes of groveling conversation. His face lit up like I'd handed him the moon. Deal. I'm great at groveling. World class, actually. He pulled out the chair across from me, carefully this time, and sat down. We talked. Or rather, he talked himself into deeper holes, and I laughed harder with every one. He admitted he'd been distracted because he'd seen me through the window 5 minutes earlier and panicked internally for a solid 2 minutes before coming in. He confessed he'd rehearsed what he'd say if we ever spoke, but all that came out was spilled latte. I told him about my deadline. He offered to proofread my essay right there on my soggy laptop. When the barista brought us replacement coffees on the house, he raised his cup in a mock toast. To the woman who didn't murder me on sight, he said. To the man who turned my Tuesday into a crime scene, I replied. And somehow made it the best one I've had in years. We stayed until the cafe closed. He walked me to my car, still apologizing every third sentence, still making me laugh every second one. At my car, he hesitated. So, would it be weird if I asked for your number? After literally assaulting you with beverages? I smiled, heart doing ridiculous flips. Only if you promise the next disaster involves less liquid. He grinned, sheepish and smitten. No promises. But I'll try. I gave him my number. He typed it in with shaking fingers, nearly dropping his phone. Of course. As I drove away, I caught him in the rearview mirror, standing there, waving like an idiot, huge grin on his face. I laughed the whole way home. That coffee spill? It wasn't just a mess. It was the beginning. The first fumble in a lifetime of glorious ones. And I wouldn't trade it for anything perfect. If you've got a story like this, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more. You know, people always say love is like a beautiful, serene lake. Well, my love story with Leo is more like a chaotic water park with a broken wave machine. It all started with a disastrous first date. I'd spent 3 hours getting ready, only for a pigeon to declare my brand new white dress its personal canvas. Leo, bless his heart, tried to help by dabbing at it with a napkin, which only smeared the masterpiece further. He then suggested we get ice cream to cheer me up. Great idea, right? Wrong. 5 minutes in, a robed toddler on a scooter sent my double scoop mint chocolate chip flying, landing squarely on Leo's head. He just stood there, green goo dripping down his face, and said, "Well, at least now we match." I knew then and there, this was my guy. Our second date was a cooking class. We were supposed to make elegant pasta from scratch. Instead, our station looked like a flour bomb had gone off. At one point, I turned around too quickly and knocked a bowl of eggs right into the instructor's very expensive-looking handbag. While I was apologizing profusely, Leo was trying to discreetly fish out eggshells with a pair of tongs, only to accidentally fling a piece of shell into the hair of the woman next to us. We were politely, but firmly, asked to leave. We ended up eating pizza on a park bench, laughing so hard we cried. It was perfect. Then came the time we tried to be outdoorsy. We decided to go kayaking. It was a beautiful, calm day. What could possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, I got my paddle stuck in some low-hanging branches. While trying to free it, I overbalanced and tipped us both into the freezing cold water. We surfaced, sputtering and shivering, only to see our kayak floating serenely away from us. Leo, ever the optimist, just treaded water and said, "At least it's a good story?" We had to get rescued by a group of teenage girls in a swan-shaped paddle boat. The humiliation was real, but so was the memory of him holding my hand the whole way back to shore. The pinnacle of our clumsiness, however, was our attempt at assembling a flat-pack bookshelf. The instructions might as well have been in ancient hieroglyphics. After 4 hours, countless arguments about which screw was which, and one very mysterious leftover panel, we finally stood back to admire our work. It was crooked. Like Leaning Tower of Pisa crooked. As Leo proudly placed the first book on a shelf, the entire structure gave a weary groan and collapsed into a pile of wood in despair. We just sat there, in the middle of the debris, and started laughing. It wasn't just a chuckle, it was that deep, can't-breathe kind of laughter. Looking back at all these chaotic, clumsy, and utterly ridiculous moments, I realize that's what love is for us. It isn't about the perfect, Instagram-worthy snapshots. It's about finding that one person who will stand in the rain with you after you've locked your keys in the car, the person who will help you clean up the mess after you tried to bake a cake and set off the fire alarm, the person who looks at you, covered in ice cream or pond water, and doesn't see the disaster, they see an adventure. It's about the shared laughter in the middle of the mess. Our life isn't a serene lake, it's a beautiful, hilarious, unpredictable mess. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Thanks for watching our little story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chaos. Chapter 4, The Wedding That Almost Was End. Because of a goat, a flat tire, and one very dramatic groom, they say your wedding day is supposed to be perfect. Ours was perfect in the same way a fireworks show is perfect when half the rockets misfire and land in the punch bowl, spectacularly, hilariously wrong, and unforgettable. The morning started with promise. I woke up to him already in the kitchen, attempting breakfast in bed. Attempting being the key word. He burned the toast to charcoal, the eggs to rubber, and somehow set off the smoke alarm while trying to make heart-shaped pancakes. He stood on a chair waving a dish towel at the detector like he was surrendering to it, yelling, "I come in peace. It's just love." I laughed until I cried, pulled him down, and kissed the soot off his cheek. "This is why I'm marrying you," I told him. No one else would turn breakfast into a 3-alarm emergency and still look this cute doing it. He grinned, sheepish and smitten. "Wait till you see the vows I wrote. They're poetic. Romantic. 0 fire hazards. Famous last words." The first real crisis hit at 2 p.m., 3 hours before the ceremony. His best man called in a panic. The vintage convertible we rented for our getaway had a flat tire. Not just flat, shredded. Like it had fought a bear and lost. We were at my parents' house getting ready. I was in my robe, hair half done, when he burst into the room, ignoring every groom can't see the bride rule, wild-eyed, still in his half-buttoned shirt. "The car's dead," he announced. We might have to Uber to our own wedding. Or ride the neighbor's goat. She offered. She's very committed to the bit. I stared. A goat? She named it Wedding Crasher. Said it's good luck. We both lost it, hysterical, snorting laughter that had my makeup artist pausing mid-brush like we'd gone mad. He dropped to his knees in front of me, grabbed my hands. Jill, he said, voice cracking between giggles, if we have to ride a goat down the aisle, I'm still saying I do. I'd ride a flaming unicycle if it meant marrying you today. My heart did that stupid flip it always does when he gets earnest under the chaos. I cupped his face. Then fix the tire, you disaster. We're not starting our marriage on goat back. He kissed my palm, stood up, and saluted like a soldier heading to war. Yes, ma'am. Tire. Fixed. Goat as backup plan. He left. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. An hour later, the Rayol bomb dropped. His mother, sweet, dramatic, loves me like her own, pulled me aside in the hallway. Eyes wide, voice a whisper shout. He's in the guest room. Panicking. Says he's calling it off. My stomach dropped like a stone. The room spun. All the laughter dried up. I found him sitting on the edge of the bed, head in hands, still in his shirt and boxers because the pants were too much pressure right now. He looked up when I walked in, red-eyed, miserable, terrified. I can't do this, he whispered. The words hit like ice water. I froze in the doorway. He saw my face and rushed on, frantic. No, no, not us. Not you. I can't do the day. The speeches, the dancing, everyone staring. What if I trip on your dress and take us both down like bowling pins? What if I forget the vows? What if I cry so hard snot comes out? And it's on video forever? I'm going to ruin it. I ruin everything. You deserve perfect. I'm me. He was spiraling, the same way he spiraled when he lost the ring, when he dropped the condom, when he assaulted the Prius. My beautiful, clumsy, wonderful idiot. I walked over, knelt between his knees, took his shaking hands. Look at me. He did, barely. Remember the first date? The parking disaster? A tiny huff of a laugh. How could I forget? And the first time I raised an eyebrow. He groaned, cheeks pink. Floor. Condom fugitive. Candle almost arson. And the proposal? Napkins in revolt, ring heist by your future wife? He smiled despite himself, small, watery. You stole my thunder. Literally. I squeezed his hands. Every single best moment of my life has started with you fumbling something. Tripping. Dropping. Panicking. And then you look at me like I'm the only thing keeping you upright, and suddenly everything's right. Tears slipped down his face now. Mine too. I don't want perfect, I told him. I want us. The version where the groom shows up with grass stains on his knees and a goat on standby. Where we laugh until we can't breathe, then kiss like the world's ending. That's the wedding I want. That's the marriage I want. With you. Only you. He stared at me for a long beat. Then he laughed, shaky, relieved, the sound I love most in the world. You're really going to marry this mess? I already said yes once, I teased, wiping his tears with my thumbs. I'm not taking it back now. He pulled me into his lap, buried his face in my neck, arms locking around me like he'd never let go. I love you, he mumbled against my skin. So much it scares me. But I'm not running. Not from you. Never from you. I kissed his temple. Good. Because the goat's probably already in the parking lot. He snorted. We're not riding the goat. Yet. We sat like that until his breathing steadied, until the panic ebbed and the goofy grin returned. He stood, finally buttoned his pants, miraculously no incidents, and offered his arm. Come on, future wife. Let's go make some beautiful disasters official. The ceremony? Oh, it was glorious chaos. He teared up during the vows, big, happy, snot-free tears, thank God. When he said I do, his voice cracked so hard the officiant had to pause for him to collect himself. I laughed through mine. The rings? He almost dropped mine into the bouquet. Caught it midair like a pro athlete. The crowd cheered. At the reception, the DJ played our song. He pulled me onto the dance floor, spun me once, then immediately stepped on my hem. We both went down in a heap of tulle and laughter, right in the middle of the floor. Everyone clapped like it was choreographed. Later, as we snuck out to the, now fixed, convertible, he stopped me under the string lights, cupped my face. Thank you, he whispered. For not letting me cancel the best decision of my life. I kissed him slow, deep, tasting salt and champagne and forever. Never, I said. You're stuck with me, fumbles and all. He grinned against my lips. Lucky me. And just like that, flat tire, goat threat, groom meltdown and all, we drove off into the night. Married. Messy. Madly in love. The chronicles continue. So, we just got back from our honeymoon in Mauritius, and let me tell you, it was a trip. I mean, picture-perfect beaches, crystal-clear water, all that good stuff you see on postcards. But postcards don't tell the whole story, do they? They leave out the parts where things get a little chaotic. Our first few days were pure bliss. We were staying at this gorgeous resort, waking up to the sound of waves, and spending our afternoons just floating in the turquoise lagoon. We went snorkeling and saw so many colorful fish, it felt like we were swimming in an aquarium. We even did a catamaran cruise at sunset. It was super romantic, just sipping cocktails, watching the sky turn all shades of orange and pink. I remember thinking, this is it. This is perfection. But perfection, as it turns out, has a sense of humor. On day 4, we decided to rent a car and explore the island. Now, I should mention, they drive on the left in Mauritius. And the roads? Let's just say they're cozy. And winding. And full of buses that seem to appear out of nowhere. My husband, bless his heart, was gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles were white. Meanwhile, our GPS had a meltdown and started speaking what I can only describe as a mix of French and robot gibberish. We were supposed to be heading to the 7 colored Earths, but instead, we ended up in a tiny village surrounded by very confused-looking chickens. We literally had to ask for directions by pointing at a picture on my phone and making car noises. It was mortifying and hilarious all at once. Then came the great monkey incident of Shamroll. We finally made it to the waterfall, and it was breathtaking. As we were taking a selfie, this little monkey, who looked all cute and innocent, just swooped in, grabbed the bag of lychees we just bought, and scurried up a tree. He sat up there, peeling them one by one, and looking right at us. He even threw a peel at my husband. I couldn't even be mad, it was too funny. We just stood there, defeated by a tiny fruit thief. Another day, we tried stand-up paddleboarding for the first time. It looks so easy and graceful in videos, right? Well, for us, it was more like stand up, wobble for 2 seconds, and then dramatically fall into the waterboarding. I think I spent more time in the water than on the board. My husband managed to stay up a bit longer, but then a small wave came and he went down like a sack of potatoes. We were laughing so hard we could barely breathe. The fancy couple gliding by effortlessly probably thought we were insane. But you know what? Those messy, unplanned, chaotic moments were just as special as the perfect sunset cruise. They were the moments that made us laugh until our stomachs hurt, the moments where we had to work together as a team, like when we were hopelessly lost with a broken GPS. It's easy to be romantic when everything is perfect. But finding the romance in the middle of chaos? That feels like real life. That feels like marriage. So yeah, our honeymoon wasn't just a highlight reel. It was a full movie, with romance, comedy, and a bit of adventure drama. And I wouldn't trade those crazy stories for anything. Mauritius is beautiful, for sure. But the memories of laughing at a lychee-stealing monkey and getting lost among chickens? That's the stuff we'll be talking about for years to come. Thanks for watching our little travel story. If you've had a similarly chaotic but amazing trip, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures. See you next time. We'd been married 3 months. The honeymoon tan had faded, the wedding gifts were unpacked, and we'd just moved into our tiny Johannesburg flat with the creaky floors and the view of the neighbor's washing line. Everything felt shiny and new until it didn't. The fight started over laundry. Of all things. I'd come home exhausted from a long day, kicked off my shoes, and found his gym clothes in a heap on the bedroom floor for the 3rd day in a row. The smell hit me like a wall. I snapped. "Why is this always my job?" I said, louder than I meant. "I'm not your maid." He walked in from the kitchen, towel over his shoulder, still sweaty from his run. "Babe, I was going to do it. I just got back." "You always say that." And then I end up doing it because I can't live in a biohazard. He froze. The easy smile he usually wore dropped. "Wow. Okay. So I'm a slob now?" The air thickened. I felt the words bubble up, sharp, unfair ones I'd been holding back since the honeymoon when he accidentally left wet towels on the bed every day. "You leave everything everywhere," I said. "The dishes, the clothes, your shoes in the middle of the passage. I trip over your chaos every day, and I'm tired of it." His jaw tightened. "And you're perfect? You leave your coffee mugs everywhere. You hog the blankets. You criticize how I load the dishwasher like it's a crime scene." "I don't criticize, you do. Constantly. Not like that. The other way. It's exhausting." We stood there, inches apart, breathing hard. The flat felt too small. My chest ached, not just from anger, but from the sudden fear that maybe we weren't as unbreakable as we thought. I turned away first. "Maybe we rushed this," I muttered. "Maybe we're not ready." The words hung like smoke. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was low, cracked. "Is that what you think? That we made a mistake?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Tears burned my eyes. He exhaled sharply. "Fine. I need air." He grabbed his keys and walked out. The door clicked shut, quiet, final. I sank onto the couch, knees to chest, replaying every word. The silence was deafening. No clumsy apologies. No goofy grin to break the tension. Just me, alone with the echo of my own harshness. An hour passed. Then 2. I cried ugly tears into a pillow that still smelled like his shampoo. The door opened at 10 p.m. He stepped in slowly, like he wasn't sure he was welcome. His eyes were red. He carried a small paper bag. He didn't speak at first. Just set the bag on the coffee table and sat on the floor in front of me, cross-legged, hands in his lap, looking small. "I bought your favorite ice cream," he said quietly. "And these." He pulled out a pack of those little chocolate hearts I love. I was going to throw them at you dramatically, but I figured that might make it worse. A tiny, watery laugh escaped me. "You're an idiot." "Yeah." He rubbed the back of his neck. "But I'm your idiot. And I'm sorry." I wiped my face. "I said mean things. You said true things. I am messy. I do leave stuff everywhere. I've been coasting on honeymoon vibes, thinking love would magically fix my bad habits." He reached for my hand. I let him take it, tentative at first, then tighter. "But I don't want to coast," he continued. "I want to be better. For you. For us. I'll set reminders. I'll do the laundry before it becomes toxic waste. I'll even learn how to load the damn dishwasher your way." I snorted. "You hate my way." "I hate arguing more." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "I'm scared, Joanne. Scared that if I screw up too much, you'll realize you deserve someone less chaotic." The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in me. "I don't want less chaotic," I whispered. "I want you. All of you. Even the parts that drive me mad. I need to know we're a team. That we fix things together, not just wait for the other to cave." He nodded. Tears slipped down his cheeks now too. "I love you," he said, voice rough. "Even when we're yelling. Even when I'm wrong. Especially when I'm wrong." I slid off the couch onto the floor with him. Wrapped my arms around his neck. He pulled me in tight, fierce, like he was afraid I'd vanish. We stayed like that for a long time. Breathing each other in. The fight still lingered in the air, but softer now. Manageable. Eventually he murmured against my hair, "Can we eat the ice cream before it melts? I'm starving from all this emotional labor." I laughed, relieved. "Only if you promise not to drop it on my lap." No promises. We ate straight from the tub on the floor, spoons clinking, shoulders touching. He fed me a bite, then stole one back. We really talked, about boundaries, about chores, about how love isn't just the fun parts. When the tub was empty, he pulled me into his lap, forehead to mine. "First fight survived," he said softly. "We're officially pros now." I kissed him slow, tasting chocolate and salt and forgiveness. "Round 2 might be about who controls the remote," I teased. He grinned. "Bring it. As long as I get to make up with you after." And just like that, the mess, the tears, the ice cream, the honeymoon didn't end. It evolved. Into something deeper. Stronger. Ours. Chapter 7, The quiet after the storm. The house was quiet now, the kind of quiet that follows a storm, thick, heavy, and full of unsaid things. I stood at the kitchen sink, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing the same plate for the third time even though the suds had gone cold. My eyes stung, not from the dish soap, but from the tears I refused to let fall again. The argument had started over something small, they always did. Lately forgotten plans, a sharp tone, words that cut deeper than either of us intended. Now the silence between us felt like a third person in the room, watching, waiting. I heard his footsteps first, slow, deliberate, the way he walked when he was thinking too hard. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. If I looked at him and saw that same stubborn set to his jaw, I knew I would shatter. He stopped behind me. For a long moment, nothing. Just the drip of the tap and my own heartbeat thudding in my ears. Then I felt his warmth before I felt his arms. He stepped in close, chest brushing my back, and wrapped both arms around my waist from behind. Not tentative. Not careful. Firm. Like he was claiming the space between us and refusing to let it stay empty any longer. His chin settled gently on my shoulder, beard scratching softly against my neck, and I felt the slow exhale he let out, like he'd been holding his breath for hours. "I'm sorry," he murmured, voice low and rough. "I was wrong. I was cruel. And I hate that I hurt you." The plate slipped from my fingers and clattered softly into the sink. My hands trembled. I tried to keep my voice steady. "You always do this," I whispered. "You just disappear into another room. And I'm left here feeling like I'm the only one who cares." His arms tightened. "I know." His lips brushed the shell of my ear. "I know, baby. And I hate myself for it. I should have come to you the second I cooled off. I should have held you instead of hiding." One of his hands slid up to cover mine under the water, warm, steady fingers threading through my wet ones. He turned off the tap with his other hand, then lifted my dripping fingers to his mouth and kissed each knuckle slowly, like he was apologizing to every part of me. "I'm so damn sorry, my love," he said against my skin. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I keep acting like I've forgotten." I tried to pull away, not because I wanted to, but because the ache in my chest was too big and I didn't know how to hold it. He didn't let me. Instead, he turned me gently, water dripping from my hands onto his shirt, and cupped my face with both palms. "Look at me," he said softly. I did. His eyes were red-rimmed, the way they got when he'd been fighting himself as hard as he'd fought with me. "You don't have to throw a tantrum for me to hold you," he said, thumb brushing away the tear that finally escaped. "You don't have to beg. I should just know. I should just come to you. Every time." And then he pulled me in, properly, fiercely, arms locking around me until there wasn't an inch of space left. I buried my face in his chest and let the sob come, muffled against his shirt. He didn't flinch. He just held tighter, one hand cradling the back of my head, the other rubbing slow circles between my shoulder blades. "I love you," he whispered into my hair. "Even when I'm being an idiot. Especially when I'm being an idiot. You're my safe place, and I'm supposed to be yours. I promise I'll do better. I'll come to you first. I'll hold you first. I'll say I'm sorry first." He kissed the top of my head, then my temple, then tilted my chin up so he could look at me again. "I'm going to spend the rest of tonight making it right," he said, voice thick with emotion. "And tomorrow I'm taking you somewhere, just us. No phones. No excuses. I already bought something for you, it's in the bedroom. Nothing big, just something that made me think of your smile." I laughed through the tears, a small, watery sound. "You bought me a gift before you even apologized?" He gave a sheepish half-smile, the first real one since the fight. I was hoping it would help me find the courage to come in here and say what I should have said an hour ago. His forehead rested against mine. "I don't want to win arguments anymore. I just want to come home to you and feel like I deserve you." I wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him down until our lips met, soft at first, then deeper, salt and forgiveness and everything we'd almost let slip away. When we finally parted, he didn't let go. Just kept me tucked against him, swaying slightly like we were slow dancing in the middle of our kitchen. "Stay here with me," he murmured. "Let me hold you until the hurt fades. Let me love you the way you deserve. Please." I nodded against his chest. And for the first time in hours, the silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was warm. It was safe. It was ours. Chapter 8, The Baby Announcement. From surviving to thriving, and one epic hospital fumble, we found out on a rainy Johannesburg afternoon. 2 pink lines on a stick I'd peed on in secret, then sat staring at for 10 minutes like it might change its mind. When I showed him, he froze, mouth open, eyes wide, then dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead to my still flat stomach. "Hello in there," he whispered, voice cracking. "I'm your dad. I promise not to drop you. Much." We laughed. We cried. We called it our little miracle and spent the night tangled up, whispering names and dreams. The announcement felt easy. The reality? Not so much. The first trimester hit like a truck. Morning sickness wasn't morning, it was all day, everyday nausea that turned food into the enemy. I couldn't keep anything down. Crackers came back up. Water came back up. I lost weight instead of gaining, my clothes hanging looser while my energy vanished. I spent days curled on the couch, head in a bucket, too weak to argue when he tried to feed me ginger tea or dry toast. He was a mess in the best way, hovering, panicking, Googling hyperemesis remedies at 3 a.m. He'd rub my back while I heaved, whispering, "You're doing amazing, baby. You're growing our human. I've got you." When I cried from exhaustion, he'd hold me tight, beard scratching my cheek, murmuring, "I hate seeing you like this. Wish I could take it for you." The second trimester was kinder. The nausea faded to occasional waves. Energy crept back. My bump appeared, small, then undeniable. We walked hand in hand through the park, him stopping every few steps to kiss my belly or tell strangers, "She's carrying our tiny boss." We felt the first kicks, tiny flutters that made us both gasp and laugh. Nights were slower, sweeter, him tracing circles on my growing stomach, whispering stories to the baby about how Mum's the bravest person I know. Then the third trimester arrived like a storm. Swollen feet so puffy I could barely fit into slippers. High blood pressure that had the doctor monitoring me weekly. Back pain that made sleeping impossible. And the fear, constant, gnawing fear, of pre-eclampsia. Every headache, every twinge sent me spiraling. What if something happens? I'd whisper in the dark. He never brushed it off. He'd pull me close, one hand on my belly, the other rubbing my lower back in slow, steady circles. "We're in this together. I'm watching every sign. If anything feels off, we go straight to hospital. No hesitation." He massaged my feet every night, propped pillows under my legs, cooked bland meals when nothing appealed. His messiness? Still there, socks everywhere, dishes piled, but he channeled it into care. When I snapped from pain or hormones, he'd just hug me tighter. "Yell at me all you want. I can take it." Labor started at around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Contractions sharp and insistent. I woke him with a gasp. He bolted upright, eyes wild. "It's time?" I nodded, breathing through the next one. He sprang into action, sort of. Grabbed the hospital bag, pre-packed, thank God, ran to the truck, threw it in the back seat. Slammed the door. Started the engine. Then froze. Looked around. Realized I wasn't in the passenger seat. Ran back inside, barefoot, keys still in the ignition, found me leaning against the wall, breathing hard. "Oh God, babe. Sorry. I forgot you." I laughed through the pain. "You forgot the pregnant woman?" He scooped me up, carefully this time, no rug-tripping disasters, carried me to the truck, buckled me in like I was glass. Slammed his door. Reached for the ignition. No keys. He patted pockets. Looked under the seat. Panicked. Where are the, oh no. They were still in the front door lock. Where he'd left them when he ran back for me. He sprinted inside again, retrieved them, dashed back, tripping over the welcome mat on the way. Landed in the driver's seat, breathless, grinning like a maniac. Ready now? I gripped his hand through the next contraction. Drive, you beautiful disaster. We made it to the hospital. He held my hand through every push, every scream, whispering, "You've got this. You're incredible. I love you so much." When our daughter arrived, tiny, perfect, screaming, he sobbed openly, cut the cord with shaking hands, then placed her on my chest. In that quiet after the storm, he kissed my forehead, then hers. "She's here," he whispered. "We did it." We announced her later that day, simple photo, her tiny hand in his, mine wrapped around them both. The caption, "Our little chaos agent has arrived." And yes, her dad already forgot the diaper bag on the way home. But in the room, just us three, he looked at me with those same wide eyes from the coffee spill day. "Thank you," he said softly. "For trusting me with this. With her. With us." I pulled him down for a kiss, slow, exhausted, full of everything. "Wouldn't have anyone else," I murmured. "Mess and all." And just like that, nausea, swelling, fear, forgotten keys and all, our family began. The chronicles grew by one more heartbeat. Chapter 9, the fourth trimester, where love meets exhaustion, and coffee becomes a food group. They don't warn you enough about the fourth trimester. The baby is here, yes, perfect, tiny, miraculous, but so are the hormones crashing like waves, the stitches healing slowly, the body that feels like it belongs to someone else, and the sleep that has officially left the building. Our daughter, let's call her Thandy for these pages, was a colic baby. Classic, textbook, 6 p.m., scream-fest colic. Every evening she'd turn beet red, fists clenched, and wail like the world was ending. Nothing helped for long, rocking, swaddling, white noise, pacifiers, car rides at midnight. We tried it all. The witching hours stretched into witching nights. The first 2 weeks were survival mode. I was still bleeding, still sore, still crying at diaper commercials because everything felt too tender. My milk came in like a flood, painful, engorged, leaking through every shirt. Thandy latched like a champ one feed, then screamed the next. I felt like a failure before breakfast. Just as wrecked. Bags under his eyes the size of suitcases. Hair permanently standing up. He'd forgotten what day it was more than once. We became cranky, sleep-deprived versions of ourselves. One night, 3:17 a.m., because the clock mocked us, he was pacing the living room with Thandy on his shoulder, patting her back in endless circles. She screamed louder. He snapped. "Can you please just stop for 5 seconds?" he muttered through gritted teeth. I was on the couch, pumping, tears streaming because the machine hurt and Thandy wouldn't settle. "Don't yell at her," I shot back. "She's a baby." "I'm not yelling at her. I'm yelling at the universe. Or myself. Or this bloody burp cloth that's soaked again." Silence. Then Thandy hit a new pitch. We both broke. He sank onto the floor, back against the couch, Thandy still wailing against his chest. I slid down beside him, pump abandoned, milk dripping onto my shirt. We sat there, two exhausted wrecks, staring at the wall while our daughter cried. "I'm sorry," he whispered eventually. "I'm so tired I can't think straight." "Me too," I said, voice small. "I feel like I'm failing her. Failing us." He turned, eyes glassy. "You're not failing. You're keeping a human alive with your body. That's superhero level. I'm just useless. You're not useless. You're here. You're holding her when I can't. He reached over, wiped my cheek with his thumb. We're both here. That has to count for something. Thandi's cries softened, just a little. We stayed on the floor until dawn, trading her back and forth, humming off-key lullabies, surviving one contraction of sound at a time. The days blurred. He'd fall asleep mid-sentence while changing a diaper. I'd wake up panicked because I'd dozed off during a feed, terrified I'd drop her. We argued over stupid things: who left the bottle out, whose turn it was to shower, 3-minute mercy rinses counted as showers now, why the bin smelled like death. One afternoon I found him in the kitchen, staring blankly at the kettle like it had personally offended him. "Babe?" I asked. He blinked. I put the milk in the cupboard and the cereal in the fridge. "I think I need help." I laughed, cracked, tired laughter, and pulled him into a hug. He buried his face in my neck. "I love you," he mumbled. "Even when we're both walking disasters. I love you too. Even when you smell like spit up in desperation." We started small rituals to stay sane. Midnight feeds became date nights on the couch, him holding Thandi while I nursed, us whispering dreams between yawns. He'd make me tea, weak, because strong made my stomach flip, and I'd rub his shoulders when they knotted from rocking. When colic hit hardest, we'd take turns walking laps around the flat, singing the same 3 songs on repeat until our voices cracked. One night, around week 6, Thandi finally slept for 4 whole hours. We woke up gasping, checking the monitor like it was a bomb. "She's quiet," he whispered. We stared at each other in the dim light. Then we both started crying, quiet, relieved sobs, because sleep felt like a miracle. He pulled me close. "We're doing it. We're actually doing this." "Yeah," I whispered back. "And we're still us. Cranky, smelly, sleep-deprived us." He kissed my forehead. "Best team ever." The colic eased around month 4. The nights stretched longer. My body slowly felt like mine again. We laughed more real laughs, not just the delirious kind. But those early weeks? They were brutal. They tested every promise we'd made. And yet, in the haze of exhaustion, something deepened. He'd catch me staring at Thandi and whisper, "Look what we made." I'd find him asleep with her on his chest, both peaceful, and feel my heart expand beyond what I thought possible. Postpartum wasn't pretty. It was messy, hormonal, tear-soaked, spit-up-stained. But it was ours. And somehow, through the crankiness and the colic and the endless nights, we fell in love all over again, not just with each other, but with this tiny, fierce family we'd built. One sleepless breath at a time. The chronicles kept growing, louder, messier, more beautiful than ever. Have you ever looked at an old family photo and felt a story trying to tell itself? Not just the smiles and the awkward poses, but the real story, the one whispered in between the captured moments. I want to share a story like that with you today, a story about my grandfather. He wasn't a famous man, not by any stretch. He was a carpenter, and his hands, calloused and strong, told the story of a life spent building. He built houses, he built furniture, but most importantly, he built a family. I remember spending summers at his workshop, the air thick with the smell of sawdust and varnish. He'd let me hold the sandpaper, showing me how to smooth the rough edges of a piece of wood until it was soft to the touch. He'd say, "Everything needs a gentle hand, kiddo." People, too. He and my grandmother were a team. Their love story wasn't a dramatic movie romance, it was a quiet, steady rhythm, like a well-built rocking chair. It was in the way he'd bring her a cup of tea every morning, exactly how she liked it. It was in the way she'd save him the last piece of pie, even when it was his favorite. Their love wasn't in grand declarations, but in a million tiny, unspoken acts of kindness that built a life together, plank by plank. One year, for their 50th anniversary, we were all trying to figure out the perfect gift. We thought about fancy trips, expensive jewelry, all the usual things. But my dad had a different idea. For weeks, he'd been sneaking into the old workshop. We didn't know what he was doing until the day of the party. He brought out a beautiful wooden chest, made from the same oak my grandfather loved to work with. When my grandpa opened it, he just stared. Inside, it wasn't filled with gold or silver. It was filled with letters. Hundreds of them. My dad had spent months reaching out to everyone my grandparents had ever known, old neighbors, friends from their youth, cousins we hadn't seen in years. He asked each of them to write a letter, sharing a memory they had of my grandparents. As my grandpa started reading them aloud, the room fell silent. There were stories of him fixing a neighbor's fence after a storm, for free. Stories of my grandma sitting up all night with a sick friend. Stories of laughter, support, and simple, everyday goodness. With each letter, a new piece of their legacy was revealed, a legacy built not of wood and nails, but of kindness and connection. My grandmother held his hand, tears streaming down her face. And my grandfather, a man I'd rarely seen cry, had to stop reading several times to compose himself. In that moment, surrounded by family and the written history of their love, I understood. The most beautiful things we build in life aren't houses or furniture. They are the connections we forge, the love we share, and the memories we create in the hearts of others. That's the real inheritance, the one that lasts forever. So next time you see an old photo, look a little closer. The greatest stories are often found in the simplest acts of love. Thanks for listening to mine. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more. See you next time. Last week, I asked my husband a simple question. We were in the middle of our usual chaotic Tuesday morning, kids screaming about mismatched socks, toast burning, me trying to find my keys which, of course, were in the fridge. I looked at him, completely frazzled, and said, "Remind me again why we thought getting married was a good idea?" He didn't miss a beat. He just smiled, handed me a slightly burnt piece of toast, and said, "Because who else would I want to find my keys in the fridge with?" And just like that, the chaos melted away for a second. It got me thinking about all the unglamorous, imperfect moments that make up a marriage. It's not the grand gestures you see in movies. It's the inside jokes whispered over a mountain of laundry. It's the silent understanding when one of you has had a tough day. It's knowing exactly how they take their coffee without even asking. Our love story isn't a fairy tale, it's a collection of sticky handprints on the wall, late-night talks about everything and nothing, and finding beauty in the absolute mess of it all. Remember that time we tried to build that IKEA bookshelf and ended up in a 2-hour argument, only to laugh so hard we cried when we realized we'd put the whole thing together backward? Or the time you brought me soup when I was sick, and you accidentally used salt instead of sugar in my tea, and we just called it a savory surprise? These are our chapters. They're not always perfect, but they're real, and they're ours. This journey isn't about having a perfect life together, it's about perfectly loving our imperfect life together. It's about choosing each other, day after day, burnt toast and all. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of your own marriage, or just made you smile through the chaos, hit that like button so YouTube knows to share more stories like this. And if you want to follow along as we keep writing our chronicles, one messy, beautiful chapter at a time, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'd love to have you here with us. Drop a comment, what's one moment in your relationship that still makes you laugh or cry? I read every single one. Thank you for being part of this journey. See you in the next chapter.